Or how painful it might be, and no BS. Citizen Smith, Citizen Smith, Citizen Smith.
Here's a man who would not take it anymore. A man who stood up against the scum, the dogs, the filth. Here is someone who stood up.
It's time for Citizen Smith.
On Facebook.
Hello, everybody. This is Citizen Smith. Can you turn? What are you doing? Please, I'm trying to talk here. I got Ray Lane playing the show on his phone while I'm trying to do an intro. This is a great start to our live program today, folks.
You started it.
Well, let's get with the program.
Let's get with it.
This is called Live
Good
Talk.
morning, Portland. Good morning.
We're actually live on many platforms today. We're testing out our we're not testing it out. Today's the launch day. Whatever happens, happens. But we're live on our various platforms, and Ray is joining me for our black and white episode every Monday that we do. He always brings a little infusion of racial tension and analysis.
It's all love.
So you and I went to Chinatown. And in Portland, what, you didn't realize that was the video that we were working on?
I just
What do you think I was doing all this time? I was editing, all night long editing this thing that we did. No, it was pretty easy. The Apple iMovie, which I used for the first time for the editing.
Right.
You know, I had all the different segments you shot of us in Chinatown in Portland. And I edited them, you know, just the beginning and end. And because every time at the beginning you would say action, which I have to then edit that because your voice is on the damn video. You could just point your finger, and then I wouldn't have to edit it.
Did I say I was a professional
but
videographer?
you did good camera work, don't get me wrong. No, really. I was surprised because I didn't know what you were doing back there, and you were very good.
Thank you.
You ever worked camera before?
Maybe I have a future.
You know what? You might give up the music career and get into the movie business.
It's a new career choice.
So, yeah, then you put it in the iMovie, and you just select all. They're all in order the way I want them. Puts it in, it does a fade in, fade out. I didn't know they did that feature on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it came out really nice, 6 minutes, 4 seconds, and we're going to play it for the audience shortly. I wanted to bring you into Chinatown because we talked about it last Monday.
Did.
And
yep. Very,
I said
very
it's an
cool.
overlooked neighborhood and community, and it's pretty much eliminated the Chinese American, Asian American community
presence in
there.
that area.
Yeah.
In that area.
And I was telling you this last Monday, and you hadn't seen it, you said, so I brought you there firsthand, and we did a walk around, and we shot a video. So why don't we go to the video now and let our viewers witness our firsthand narrative and video of Chinatown in Portland. This is Citizen Smith and
Ray.
So
Yeah,
Ray,
while we're
we're
waiting
at
for
the
that,
Chinatown
was-
gate.
Okay.
We're doing it. We're going to be doing a little segment here about the state of conditions of Old Town Chinatown, which is right here in downtown on 4th Avenue. So you were saying that it moved to another location.
82nd Street, yeah, called the J District now. All the merchants are moving over there. So, you know.
That's what they're saying. Well, let's find out what's going on in Chinatown itself, where it's supposed to be the historic location, right here. We're going to find out what businesses are actually in business, if any, and the state of the condition of Chinatown, downtown Portland. Okay. Here we are in downtown Chinatown in Portland. This is what it looks like on the first stretch of the sidewalk. The point of this show is, in this episode, is to document the plight of Chinatown in Portland. Kind of an overlooked part of the city. I think it's taken a big hit, and it's yet to recover. Why? So we're talking to Luis. He's right in the middle of downtown here. He's not a Chinese American living in Portland, I don't think.
I mean, there are a few owners Chinese.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good to know. Because this is about Chinatown and Chinese, Asian community, how they're rebounding from this pandemic. We're still looking around. It looks empty. You're right here in downtown. You got the laundromat. What's going on here? Is the business rebounding? Have people fleed this area, the Chinese business owners? What's your take on this?
I mean, there are a few Chinese restaurants in the area. I mean, for a few years, there haven't really been that many Chinese businesses from what I've seen. We have Index, though, that is Asian-owned partially, and then we have us. We're a vintage store. We're Chinese-owned. So there are a bunch of minority businesses, not just Chinese. We're all just kind of trying to do our thing here.
Well, that's kind of an ambiguous statement, though. Like when you walk down the street, I don't see any businesses open.
We got Dead Stock Coffee over there. They're a sneaker-themed coffee shop. They're open. Orox Leather. They're a Mexican leather shop. They're open.
And what about going this way?
Right here, this is Produce Portland. They're black and they're black-owned, minority-owned. They're streetwear sneakers. We're vintage sportswear. We got a whole bunch of businesses open. Upper Playground's open over there. Yeah. This is pretty much the area for like the fashion industry. There's not many businesses open, but what is open is we're able to take care of, you know.
So Ray, who's operating the camera, my co-host on our Black and White section every Monday, our segment, he was saying that he heard they're all moving to what they call the Jade District down on 82nd Avenue.
Oh yeah.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, I think that's happened for a while. They've pretty much all been over there. A lot of the restaurants moved over there. But over here, it's been pretty much more kind of like everyone else just moving in, since like
everyone else being
like other minorities moving in.
But not Chinese.
Maybe other Chinese businesses will be moving in. I don't know. I don't think it's just Chinese people moving. Maybe
so Chinatown's not so much Chinatown. It's kind of mixed town now.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's kind of I guess so. Yeah, but I mean Chinatown, we try to keep it as Chinese as possible. We like to have the lanterns up. Try to keep it nice, but I don't know. We try to.
So at night, is it have people wandering around, or is it quiet at night and just still hasn't rebounded? You wouldn't be here?
No, we still have the homeless issue down here. This is where everything gets pushed down to. So this is where,
All right, so that's the state of affairs pretty much. And how about your business? How's it doing?
We've been doing pretty good. We do online. We've actually just reached 2 years in this location. We used to be over in the industrial area for about a year and a half. But we've been doing really well here. Business has been really good for everyone in the neighborhood, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, except at evening time.
Except at evening time. Yeah, exactly.
All right, Luis. Well, thanks for talking and sharing some insight on what's going on in Chinatown.
Laundry PDX. We're vintage sportswear. Open 12 to 6 on the weekdays, 12 to 7 on Saturday, and 12 to 5 on Sunday.
Awesome. Great plug. Hopefully increase a little business for you.
You guys. Appreciate you guys.
All right. Here we are in the very center of Chinatown in Portland. We've got the Golden Seafood Restaurant. If you look down here, you'll see that there's graffiti on the restaurant walls. I don't know if these restaurants are open. My gut feeling is there isn't. Ray on camera says he thinks they might be. It's just too early in the morning. But the problem is right across the street, we've got the homeless camping out. And this isn't exactly the kind of scene you want to present when you're a restaurant owner in Chinatown. So, I mean, that's the challenge in the situation now. First, the homeless people need to go, then the restaurants can open, or the restaurants open and the homeless people go. But they can't coincide with each other and mutually exist. It just doesn't look good for the neighborhood or people who want to visit, tourists or locals alike. Here's an example of a sculpture in Chinatown with graffiti on it. Some sculptor took the time to make it, and somebody took the time to deface it. In this, supposed to be kind of a pedestrian walkway rest area, which instead is right now a homeless camp at the tail end of Chinatown. So if you want a business in Chinatown, because from our walk around there's very few Chinese anymore and they've kind of left, as we mentioned, to another part of town called the Jade District now, you can get good property. A little plug for David Gold. All you need to start a business in Chinatown, probably lower rates than you get for per square footage anywhere else in town. That cracks me up. All right, there you go. It's our first out and about in the field, as we say in the business, covering Chinatown in Portland. And if anybody watched that, and this will be recorded as well, and you can watch it later if you didn't catch the whole thing, or you want to watch it again because it was so riveting. The revealing thing, as I think you'll agree, Ray, is that there's no Chinese in the Chinatown. No Chinese American, no Asian Americans. They relocated to 82nd Avenue, which is just a boulevard. You know, it's a long boulevard of restaurants and markets, which I discovered like the second week I was in Portland because I love Asian food and markets.
Right.
They all went there.
Yeah.
Chinatown is non-existent in Portland. They need to change the name of the town because it's misleading. If tourists come here and they go to Chinatown expecting dim sum and Chinese restaurants and stores and Vietnamese like in Boston, when you go to Chinatown, you're not going to find it in Portland. You're going to find a vintage store called Laundry, which I just figured out thanks to you, meant that it wasn't a laundromat. That he kept referring to vintage clothing, and it says
clothing.
Laundry.
Sport is a sport clothing outlet.
And but he said the Chinese owned it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there was one still hanging in there.
And most likely it's still owned. The proprietors are still maybe of Asian.
Speaking of which, I got my Xi'an
Nice.
coffee mug,
Nice.
Starbucks from Xi'an
Nice.
when I was there a year ago,
Very nice.
visiting while I was working. Chinese theme today.
Nice. But things change, and you know, with the current culture, and you know, just being appropriate, and
What do you mean being appropriate?
well, calling someplace China this or
for God's sakes.
Blacktown
Wait,
that.
well, hold on. Now we're going to get rid of the history, too? So it was called Chinatown when it was made. It's Chinatown. You know the first Chinatown in Oregon? Where was it?
In San Francisco, I thought.
No, in Oregon.
Oh, in Oregon, I have no idea.
It was down in John Day. There was over 2,000 Chinese living there at one time, early in the 19th century. And then they moved to Portland, I believe. From there, they left. But there was a big community of Chinese.
Wow.
They were working on the railroad and such. And,
Oh yeah.
and then they relocated and established businesses in Central Oregon.
Yeah.
Interesting, huh?
Smart,
There's
yeah.
there's a historical place there in John Day called the Continue.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing to hear all these different cultural history
Well,
events. and
Oregon's a
historical
fascinating
events.
historical state.
It's wonderful.
I mean, I love discovering the state. And the Kam Hwa Chung State, here it is, in Kam Hwa, I don't know if that's the pronunciation they like, Kam Hwa Chung State Heritage Site.
Nice. So where was back in the early 90s? They moved from there when?
Let me go back on the thing here. And
In the early 1900s or the late
1800s.
Late 18 or
Yeah,
what?
about that time, yeah. Yeah, we'll go to the Friends of, well, anyway, you can keep talking about
Oh,
that. Well,
Just wondering where did the black community move from in Portland to in Oregon to Portland?
built in 1865, trading post, but unique time capsule, unique when the world became home to two Chinese immigrants, Ng Dok Hae and Lung On in 1888. So that was like when they started their Oregon Chinese community there.
And when did the black community start in Portland? I was being serious. Not really, but anyway, yeah. Where are their businesses? I'm just curious. I
So-
want to go to Blacktown.
Yeah,
That's
well,
a good song right there.
Blacktown's
I want to go to Chocolate City in Portland. Where is Blacktown? What would we call it? Afro.
So you're saying that you're playing off of the. Do you think Chinatown is so inappropriate? If you're the same thing as calling the black neighborhood Blacktown or
Negro Town.
Negro Town.
Negro. He said it for me. He said Negro. He did say it.
Well, you know why?
That's all I wanted you to
want
do.
to know
I
why?
just wanted you to say
I'm
Negro.
reading John Steinbeck's Travels with Charlie. It's his one of
nice.
his last books he wrote. When he was 58 years old, he traveled across America and wrote a pretty good book about his. And he took his dog, and I'm at the last part of the book where he's talking about. It's very interesting. He's in New Orleans, and a black girl is going into a white school for the first time, and all the people are
Yes.
at
we
gathering
remember.
out front.
We remember.
You know, first all-white school where I guess a black student attended in this part of
That is
New
correct.
Orleans. But during the whole chapter, he was referring to people were yelling out to her, you know, the N-word,
Right.
and he was referring though through the entire chapter.
Which N-word is that?
He was referring to you go ahead, say it if you want.
Nasty.
Anyway, look at. He was referring to the blacks as Negro throughout the entire chapter,
Negro.
which in 62 or whenever he wrote this was the appropriate term at the time. So throughout the book and the chapter, he's using the terminology Negro, which is polite as he's being, to describe the scene that was happening. So
it was quite festive back then, I thought, back in the 40s and 50s. They had wonderful names, Negro, and they made the black experience sound like festive, like colored. You're multicolored people. I like that. They're actually being very nice if you look at it from that perspective.
He was actually very insightful in that he said in Salinas, where he was living as a kid in Cottage Grove, California, near Northern California, San Francisco area, Monterey. He had there was one black family in the neighborhood that he grew up in. It was a fishing town like that back then. And he became, friends with them. One of them was a great athlete, but all of them were very intelligent. His father was the hardest working person in town, ran a truck for, I forget what he was using it for, but his point was they all went on and became very highly educated. They were very sophisticated, and they weren't your prototypical black, as they were known then, as to be lazy,
I was just
uneducated,
talking about the lazy comments.
And he was like, his point was, given the opportunity, they're as smart as anybody, if not better, And when he went into the household of his black friends, there were 3 children that grew up there. It was the cleanest house in the neighborhood, And I too had the same experience. I had a black friend growing up, African American, Tony, who passed away sadly a few years ago, and his parents were from Boston, and they moved to the suburbs during the white flight of the moving of kids to inner city schools, and of white kids going to black schools, black kids going to white schools. That's when everybody left. Like, they wanted to put me in an all-black school in Roxbury.
That'd have been good for you.
10 miles away from where I lived.
So
anyway, we moved out, and he moved out too, though. Some black families moved out too. They didn't want to get caught up in the whole thing. His family had the cleanest house they ever. His mother was the cleanest, like a neatnik. It was the most We couldn't walk on his grass in the backyard because his father was so meticulous about having the greenest grass.
It's almost like if you remove the government, influence and the societal, oppression, that even the weeds can grow amongst the roses in the garden.
Wouldn't it be the roses can grow amongst
No.
weeds?
There'd be the weeds. There'd be the
weeds.
transplants. There'd be the things that came from another place into the garden. But it's almost like, if you just remove the restrictions, So there
is one point, though.
Okay.
The family he was talking about had a great father and family household.
Well, did you
right?
destroy
my friend had a great father and family household.
Take the father figure out of the family, then you can disrupt things. So
it goes beyond disrupting; it's complete collapse of the family structure.
So then it makes sense why you'd want to.
So which is more important, the family structure, or is government interfering?
No, the government interfering is the family structure disruption. It is removing the black man from the family.
Because of prison, you mean?
Prison, alcohol, not getting the jobs, not getting the bank loans, whatever, not being able to start a business, And then when they do get a business started, it's racially profiled or prejudiced. All the little things, the little nicky-nacky things that go to make some people successful and other people, so close. So I'm just saying that to me, it makes sense why certain people would not want to water the weeds. Because if you did, you'd find out that they could compete. And if they could compete, then you're not going to live as well because they're going to take some of your pie. And so it's all about pie. And so, it just makes sense. Oppress people, not just black, but anybody that's a competition, including your own, including poor white Southern trash that live in trailer parks. That's just human nature. Again, goes back to my human nature.
Did you read some philosophical book about human nature?
Or let's call it self-interest. We all live with self-interest.
Self-absorbed.
Self-interest is a better way.
Self-preservation.
Self-preservation.
Yeah.
It just makes don't get mad. It's just
don't get mad.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Hey, if somebody wants to call in, by the way, we do take phone calls now on this call-in talk show at 503-234. 0762.
Wouldn't that be fun?
If you would like to ever weigh in on this conversation, this is the Black and White episode with Ray Lane. 503-234-0762.
That's 503-234-0762 for all my brothers out there.
Right now, who knows how many people are listening live, but we are starting our live feed every day now. We do this show Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at this point, and we do take phone calls.
Cool.
And we will talk to the listeners when they're there
and
to weigh in on the conversation.
It's live and not screened, so you can say the worst or the best or whatever.
Do you have to invite that?
I do.
I think they know that.
Well,
you don't have to antagonize.
I want to make sure they know that.
You don't need to be a protagonist on top of it.
You can say anything you want.
Let's return to the Chinatown in Portland, though. So the Chinatown in Portland, I guess this mass relocation of Chinese Americans, Asian Americans out of Chinatown isn't something that just started.
It's
been ongoing for some time.
Business decision.
But now it's really at a point where it's a non-existent Asian community for the most part, except for a few restaurants, which you said you thought they might be open. I'm telling you, if they're not at 11 a.m. open in Chinatown, they're not open. Chinese restaurants open at 11 a.m., no matter what day of the week. Or they're at least prepping. But any real Chinese restaurant that's out to make money, they're open, baby, at 11.
I think my point while we were...
But my point is, they're gone, and they were ongoing leaving.
Right.
So the city just ignored it, or nobody stepped in to try to help and keep them there?
As I was saying when we were there, I don't think there's any sinister play at hand. I think that the Chinese...
I'm not saying sinister play. I'm saying neglect,
lack of
interest.
Or lack of interest. I don't think it's any of that. I think that the Chinese people are very industrious, very intelligent people like every other community or race of people. They're very smart, very intelligent. They probably made a business decision as a group, as a collective, or whatever, and they said, hey, we could pay less to be over here on 82nd Street than downtown. We have a better community base, a better a customer base
82nd Avenue is a boulevard, like I said. It's like a highway.
But it's not.
But Chinatown is a nice neighborhood. People can walk and
It used to be.
But they must have been leaving before the pandemic.
Yeah,
unless this
absolutely.
Mass exodus happened during the pandemic. Justin, you've been living here for a while. Has Chinatown been...
it's always been pegged kind of, Old Town and Chinatown kind of pegged as the places where people shoot up heroin.
And they want to be new.
So when did the Chinese start moving to 82nd Avenue?
When I got here, they were already there. 82nd, the J District was already set and been there for a long, 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 long time. So I'm not quite sure what...
It was just a business decision, that's all.
I mean, I remember the first time I drove into Portland and was like, what is this place? This little Chinatown? There was like nothing in here.
Yeah,
whatever.
Chinatown has thrived in every city but Portland then. People don't leave Chinatown in Boston. It's valued property, but they still there.
Maybe because they can't. Maybe because the property around them is way too high to rent or buy into. Maybe because...
I just think there's old money that is settled into these... They don't have any debt. It's all been paid off in these expenses. They could sell out, but they haven't.
No, it wouldn't make sense if you can't move somewhere else. I mean, you sell your place for $500.
The restaurants,
or $1 million,
are small.
Well, if you sell it for $500, but the where you want to move to is $1 million, what's the point? You can't. So you're stuck there.
Maybe there's a cultural thing. They like it.
I doubt it. From what I know of Boston, it's very segregated. So you stay in your place. There's a gang mentality, like a mafioso section of rich people live here, like in every city, but even more so in Boston when I was there. It's like you definitely got a certain kind of people live here and a certain kind of people live there and a certain kind of... Now, you're from Boston, so don't let me tell you about your city. I'm just telling you for the
main thing is
few months I was there.
Gentrification is the big thing.
The few months I was
Amazon has moved in, new skyscrapers have built up around the seaport.
Right.
The price of a rental there is $3,000 for a 2-bedroom,
right?
$2,400 minimum for a 1-bedroom.
So if you own in a small
ghetto
area,
that's what's going on.
There.
It's not about
don't sell.
There's a lack of diversification there in that it's mainly tech kids that are white moving in, and
it's economic, yeah, like it is everywhere. So if you can find an old black lady living in a home that she bought back in 1942 or something, and get it for like $90,000, and knowing the property alone is worth $300,000, and you can get her to sell it, and her kids aren't around to help her. That's how I see all gentrification. It's we'll give you this much money, even though your property's worth that much money, and then we'll tear down your house and put something really beautiful there and make 3 times the profit, regardless of what happens. And that's how I view gentrification. It's an opportunity to make money, but there's the cost to that. You're pushing people out into a worse situation somewhere else.
Do you ever see anything like in a positive light?
That is positive for
No,
white
I mean,
people.
but seriously, like, I mean,
That's totally positive.
Is there something in America? I'm just going to challenge you here that you're really happy about.
That's capitalism.
Let me just ask you: is there something in America that you're like, wow, this is really great?
I wanted to say Disneyland, but it's a dump.
So you're
Disneyland is one
even
big
Disneyland's
meat
you're
marketing
even
dump.
negative about
Just
Disneyland.
pushing meat through lines is all I see that place as. It's great for a kid, but when you get older and you realize what it is,
Yeah,
it's like,
no, I lived in Orlando. Believe me, and Disney
Yuck.
World took over Orlando. It's like it should be called Disney Orlando.
Yeah, the Disney dump.
I mean, and they just take over and they sprawl out and it just dominate.
It was a great idea back in.
Yeah, it was. I'm in agreement. I think Disney World was an aberration of commercial development.
It's awful. It's just,
and they push that shit down your throat when you're there. Oh, my God.
And you know, the only parents that really take their kids there are the ones who can't afford to go to the Maldives or some shit like that, right? It's like, you know, so there's a different clientele.
And that shit
there.
ain't cheap, Disneyland.
No,
You're
It's
dumping
$500 just to get in the door with 3 kids.
You're dumping $5,000 just to go there.
I remember
You could go to Italy and have a much better time and have fresh pasta.
That's
and
my
your kids
point.
might learn something.
That's my
they'll
point.
actually get a cultural awareness.
So the kind of people that go there are not
When I see a professional football player, I'm going to Disney World, I want to slap him in the back of the head. You sell out. Tom Brady's going to Disney World.
Yeah, right.
I like it when they show like the people fighting at Disneyland, like two families fight, you know, and the poor kids are screaming.
I guess and the lines can go on for hours.
Yeah. Anyway,
it's crowded. It's long waits. It's terrible.
I used to drive. Rob Geiger when I was a chauffeur in L.A.
So you brought up the chauffeur thing.
Because you told me to.
So this Ray was a limousine driver and bodyguard. I don't know if he's embellishing, but I guess maybe it came with the territory.
It did.
And he's a hell of a driver when he drives me around Portland. I'm buckled up and holding on tight, but he was a military driver. He's driven everything, and he was a professional limousine driver and bodyguard. He had Pamela Anderson was one of your clients, and you've told me a story about her. We don't have to go into that. But what was Bob Iger?
Yeah, Bob. Yeah.
Which one was he again? He's
the head of Disney.
Oh, you drove him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everywhere. Him and his wife Willow.
Around L.A.
and his kids. You know, to the opera, to the different.
To go to Disneyland with him?
No, he didn't want to do that.
Why not?
Not even Geiger wants to go to Disneyland. I won't say that. He's a cool dude. He's a very cool dude. You know, the money they make, though. I was called an anti-Semite by a person that was my tour manager when I was doing music touring, and he was Jewish, and the guy that signed me to the label was Jewish. And I had a problem with Epstein, the guy who got fired before him or whatever, getting $350 million golden parachute retirement because they were wanting to fire him. But in order to do that, they had to give him stocks and shares and money. And I'm like, who the hell gets fired from a job and gets $350 million to walk away? I said, that's just not right. And the guy was like, you're an anti-Semite just for saying that. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, you can't stand to see a Jewish man make money. I'm like, oh my God, you can't say a damn thing.
Yeah, that guy's
you
just
can't,
that guy's
you
just.
Can't say a damn thing negative about.
Nah, man. When you heard him say that, you should have just said you're ignorant, and just left it at that.
Well, I couldn't because he was driving the tour bus too. So
all right.
Didn't want him to run us off the road.
Well, maybe there's a place and time to bring these things up.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I mean, I'm talking about when you brought it up.
Yeah. That wasn't the time.
You know, I have a feeling you haven't. You don't care about the appropriate time and place for saying things.
I kind of.
You just say it when you want to say it.
When I want to say it. Yeah, it's always been that way.
Well, it's good.
Hence the career. Yeah.
And when you're a limousine driver, you keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. There was a time I drove the Mila Kunisevich, whatever, Russian girl from all those Resident Evil movies and whatever. One beautiful.
What year is this?
97, 6, something like whatever. And I get 94, 96, 96, 97, 98. Okay, right. Okay, 98, or 97, 98, 99. Anyway, somewhere in there.
You keep going up a
But
year.
it was only a year. I did it, you know, because I had lost my little publishing deal and needed to start making money, and I had a daughter. Anyway, I remember driving Mila, and she was dating John Frusciante, And I still talk about this, and all my friends are like, Ray, let it go. Well, they just, dude, that happened 30 years ago. Before 2000. It's like that was 23 years ago. Let it go. I said, I can't.
You're the kind of guy that doesn't let anything go.
No.
You retain
the
stuff
guy
forever.
The guy, I picked him up from the airport to drive him back to his place, and she's beautiful. And, I'm a musician too, but he's successful because he plays with the Chili Peppers. The guy was the biggest a-hole.
He played for the Chili Peppers?
Yeah, he's a guitar player, very talented.
I'm not familiar with the names of
I should let it go
members.
because I looked at his profile on his Facebook pages lately, and he's changed. He's not the asshole he was back then. He's grown up. He's matured. He has a beautiful wife.
But then what happened?
No, nothing. He just talked a lot of nasty things and was being very rude to me, and I couldn't just
what did he say to you that was rude?
I don't want to get into it, but it was she said, "Why are you being such a dick?"
Why was he?
Insecurity.
Was he drunk?
Who knows? My point is, you can judge.
You
people.
know if he's drunk.
You can judge people based on their actions today, but that doesn't mean to say they'll be that.
The Red Hot Chili Peppers.
He just felt like being a dick.
He just felt like being a dick, and
thank you, Justin, for that narrative.
He's right. He just felt. Who cares why? He was saying some things that normally I'd have pulled the car over, dragged him out, and bitch slapped him. But
Which guy is he in the group? Is he the bald guy?
No, that's Flea.
Oh yeah, that's Flea. Then you had the singer
Chad,
and then I'm trying to picture his face.
And Anthony Kiedis.
Anthony, yeah.
Now I knew that all because when we rehearse, Chad.
Give it away.
Chad and Flea.
Now.
I remember Chad and Flea and Chad Wackerman and Flea and no, Kiedis wasn't there. But I remember Chad and Flea coming over and hanging out with us in between rehearsal breaks and take a break, and they'd come into the studio.
When Flea's around, do you feel itchy?
Yes, exactly. But anyway, so the band is great. It was just John Frusciante.
Well, I just think Flea's the worst rock and roll name in the history of rock and roll.
He's the best.
Who the hell calls himself Flea?
He's cool as shit.
I'm going to call myself Nat.
Okay, well.
Yeah, I'm Nat. This is Ant, and that's Flea.
Nice. Okay.
And we got Cockroach over here.
Well, anyway, that's my story. I dropped him off. Nothing happened, and I had to eat my words. I couldn't tell him to go fuck himself or bitch slap him.
And
or
you had
anything.
to suck it up.
I had to suck it up because I had a family.
And then when you went home, you were pissed off.
Yeah, I beat my wife. Took it out on her.
Not a good job.
Not a good joke.
Not a good job.
Justin's in there shaking his head.
Not a good job for a guy like you.
Ken's like, he shouldn't have said that. I never put my hands on any woman ever. Okay, relax, people. Jeez.
I don't think you should be a limo driver. The way I've seen you drive, you get very irritable very quickly.
You're sitting at a four-way stop. I get there at least 5 seconds after the person at the other stop. I stop. They've already been stopped. She looks over. This has happened 3 or 4 times in Portland.
Where are we here?
In Portland.
Oh, all right. Fast forward to the present.
No, because the Portland's we talked about this passive-aggressive vibe in this city that you don't get in L.A. People don't have time. You got more money and
in
houses.
L.A. they just shoot you.
Well, no. People don't have time for nicky-nacky little pesky little bullshit, right? They just don't. They got a life to live.
Like when I was trying to make a left and that's the wrong left, and I kept going. The guy got pissed off and honked his horn when he went by. You don't stop and make a mistake like that and keep going.
Yeah. So I'm still learning. This need for some Portlanders to control what everybody else is doing around them.
Not some, most.
But whatever. I'm trying to be polite. This need to control everybody else's actions around you. This attitude that you have here. So I'm sitting there, I'm looking at her like, okay, go. I pulled up to the stop sign, go. She looks at me, just keeps looking, not because she's attracted or wants to say hi, but just looking at me. And then she crawls across the thing, the little four-way stop. And as she gets almost past the whole intersection, I start to go, she stops and looks back at me like, hey, I'm driving here. I'm driving. And this happened 3 times, so it must be the way I'm driving.
Well, you're a very aggressive
they don't want
driver.
You, they
I
don't
would
want
go so far as to say you're rude when you drive.
Yeah, they don't want you to start edging until they're completely through
you're
the
in
intersection.
The wrong city, brother.
Oh, I am.
You shouldn't be in Portland driving.
Oh, frustrates the hell out of me.
I mean, you scare the hell out of me when you're driving. I know you're very good, but you're right on the edge there. You're tinkering on the edge.
No, I just get where I'm going, and I don't speed, and I don't
keep it up. You're going to get into an accident.
I don't do anything reckless. I don't speed.
Really?
No, not at all.
Oh my God! Well, you should sit in the passenger seat then. When you're driving.
You're a control freak. You need to be in control.
I'm not a control freak.
You like to have your hands on the wheels. You're one of those.
No, I'm happy to be driven, but you.
I get where I'm going in an efficient manner.
I've never been so. I'm not really nervous because I know you're a good driver.
Right.
I'm just wondering when you're going to overestimate your ability.
I don't. It's not going to happen. I've been driving.
I did make up my mind, though, after yesterday when you drove, or the day before,
right,
that from now on I would appreciate if I could drive.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I've had enough.
Yeah, good.
I don't want to push my luck.
No, don't push your luck.
I'm playing it safe.
Good.
We don't have any time restraints. What do we got? News at the top of the hour?
No, we got Mr. Dave Dahl.
Mr. Dave Dahl's
debut
show today.
Yes, Mr. Dave Dahl's debut show.
Recording the debut show.
So we're going to need at least a good 45 minutes before that show is
Dave's
recorded.
Killer Bread, formerly owner of the Dave's Killer Bread, just his first show this week.
Yes,
it's exciting.
It's not live, but it will be up, and we're all waiting with great anticipation to get the first little offering, or the maiden voyage of Mr. Dave Dahl. That's going to be very
Be nice
exciting.
to see your show, too, one of these days.
My show? Yes.
Yeah, Halfcast.
Yeah, well, I'm struggling finding interesting guests that I can
So the answer
mix it up with.
The answer to the answer is
I need a guest.
Just don't do the show. Hey, I can't get a guest. I'm just not going to do the show.
I don't want to sit and babble on the mic. There's 2 million podcasters in America.
That's why we
doing
have to
shit.
charge for these services.
Yeah, I hear
Make
you.
people get their ass in here.
I understand that, but
see what happens when you give them a little wiggle room.
No,
They're not committed.
People are not interested in hearing us talk. They want to hear interesting interviews and
conversations. If they're not interested in hearing us talk, well, why are we doing it?
Well, they are, but they're not just. You got to have some interesting people to talk to, like a ball player or a celebrity that lives here. Something cool to where, like, oh, I want to hear that. That's how you bring.
Is that how you're going to do
that
it?
Plus marketing.
If you're gonna wait for that, you might as well quit.
That plus marketing. No, I'm not going to quit. It's just.
Well, you're not going to get some celebrity ball player on your show.
Well, yes, I can.
You don't even do. You need to build an audience.
If I wanted to get a celebrity, probably not playing now. If I wanted to get a celebrity ball player,
go ahead, get him.
I
challenge you.
I'll call somebody and have them on the show.
Well, I don't know why I have to challenge. You should be doing it anyway.
I don't bug my friends.
But you have to if you're going to do a show. Yeah. You got to be a little bit of a pain in the neck.
Never have been.
People aren't like reaching out to you. You have to reach out to them.
I know. I've never been that way. So.
Well, you're gonna have to change.
Okay.
Or else you're never gonna get a guest.
Good.
All right. And my advice to you for driving around in Portland.
Yeah.
Put on 89.9 Jazz and Blues like I do. Buckle
and
up.
Chill out.
And chill out.
Okay.
And and just think to yourself, where am I going in a rush? Nowhere.
89.9 is all classical Portland. 89.1 is blues and jazz.
Thank you very much, Justin. That's awesome. All right.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you, Portland.
I appreciate that clarification.
We really appreciate
Either one
Portland.
will work, though, classical or jazz and blue.
Just calm down.
All right. Very good. Well, that's today's live call-in show. Thank you for your calls. We'll talk to you again on Wednesday, and see you
See you,
on
Portland.
Wednesday.
Bye-bye.